Ned Ryan is a former speechwriter at the White House. He recently wrote a piece called In Defense of Masculinity for the Journal of American Greatness, and he joins us tonight. Ned, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker. Glad to be here.
How does your piece bear on the conversation, the national conversation we're having about sexual harassment?
No, I think one of the points I made in that piece, Tucker, just really addressed the fact that we're dealing with some of this toxic masculinity that Hollywood and the media created. You go back and look at the years and years of conditioning, of objectifying women, of turning them into these objects in print and film, and normalizing abhorrent behavior. And now people are acting on the left in the media in Hollywood, they're acting self-righteous and horrified at the behavior that is the end result of the conditioning that they received for years. And Tucker, one follows the other. If people have been conditioned for years to act in a certain way, they're going to behave a certain way. And so when you see them attacking this toxic masculinity, I want to make the argument this is a culture that the left created. Some of us, and this is why I wrote that piece, have rejected that culture. We actually believe in self-discipline. We actually believe in virtue. The other great irony in all of this, Tucker, the left not only created toxic masculinity, they have enabled it. You look at the Harvey Weinsteins and the Bill Clintons and the John Conyers and the Al Frankens, again, and then they want to, as your guest just tried to make the argument, they want to pin that terrible behavior of some men on all men, and in fact say that all men are guilty of toxic masculinity when in fact we are not, and we aren't even capable of abusing those around us. And so I think this is a conversation that we have to have about what we're really discussing and who actually created the toxic masculinity. It didn't come from the right. It was something that was created by the left, and now we're seeing the end results of it.
So it seems like about 10 years ago, but it was just several months ago when the vice president said, I think to a reporter, that he does not go out to dinner with women alone. And he was accused of being some kind of snake-handling fundamentalist freak and jumped on by feminists. I wonder if they would reassess that now in light of everything we've seen in the last 6 weeks.
No, I think one of the funny things that we've seen really in the last couple of weeks, I wouldn't say funny, perhaps ironic, is that these liberal elites who sneered at us, who actually believe in a culture of practice, faith, and respect for women and respect for the institution of marriage, well, it turns out that those who are sneering at us were actually, in fact, these patriarchal, misogynistic perverts and predators. And so there are some of us that actually, many of us, that actually believe in this world that we're in, that, again, what sets us apart is self-discipline and respect and virtue and a certain behavior. It's the small decisions that make the man. And again, we refuse to be pinned with this toxic masculinity because many of us have lived our lives in a very different way. And in fact, where it's coming from is the behavior of the left and their conditioning, the culture that they have created.
Well, yeah, because I have to say, with one exception, I guess the allegations against Roy Moore would be the exception, but in almost all these other cases, these are not evangelicals who are being accused. These are self-described feminists.
That's right. That's right. No, and so I think the other thing, too, that needs to be discussed, Tucker, is this. We're seeing the end result of decades and decades of conditioning in this sexual harassment, this period of what we're seeing right now. I think the other thing that concerns me a little bit, as your former guest was trying to get to, I think, I am concerned about the social experimentation that is taking place and trying to remove the manliness out of our boys. Well, and, when you see some of these things that are taking place in our education system, it's of deep concern to me. Listen, I'm all for women, for all the breakthrough they've made, for girl power, all of those great things, but I think the pendulum has swung too far the other way.
Of course.
I think the boys are being left behind.
Being for women does not mean being against men, of course.
Well, see, and I think that's where the left has gone wrong.
No, I
think they've been so far. But in response to the toxic masculinity they've created, they have wanted to keep our boys suspended in this Peter Pan state and refuse to let them be men. In fact, they don't even want our boys to be boys. They want them to be girls. So I think it's something we have to push back at right now and not let it continue down this path.
Ned Ryan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Tucker.